What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. Today we're talking the August 10th, 2024 edition of the SmackDown LowDown. Scott Stanford and Megan Morant in the studio, per usual, opening up the episode by replaying the opening segment with Cody Rhodes, the Bloodline, Kevin Owens, Cody awarding Kevin Owens the next shot at the undisputed WWE Championship at Bash in Berlin. They hype up that match for the pay-per-view before running down the other big headlines from Friday's SmackDown. They replay Jade Cargill essentially squashing Alba Fire, one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions in singles competition. We hear from Jade and Bianca Belair and Naomi backstage afterward with Byron Saxton. Cargill says that they were pissed, coming off of what happened last week, and that those witches were tripping. That's what she said. And she was about to say, it was kind of embarrassing because she was going to say, obviously, bitches, and then Bianca was supposed to cut her off. But then before she could say bitches, Bianca didn't cut her off in time. She didn't say bitches, but she didn't even attempt to. She looked over at Bianca before she was going to, and it was not a big deal, but it was kind of awkward thinking, okay, I think Bianca was supposed to stop her sooner than she did. But anyway, they mentioned last week how they had a problem in Fire, Dawn, and Blair Davenport. They found their answer in Naomi, which all of us knew. I mean, the sky's blue. Not meaning to rhyme there, but it was pretty obvious that their answer was Naomi, and that they were going to set up a 6-woman tag team match for some point. But Naomi says they're just going to keep coming for them and keep coming for Blair until she learns not to do that. So they preview Naomi versus Blair Davenport next week. They kind of make it sound like, oh, Naomi's finally going to get her hands on Blair next week. They had a match a month ago, and Naomi beat her decisively. So it's not as if this is their first match. They replayed the Profits beating 8-Town Down Under, as well as DIY beating Pretty Deadly in the two WWE Tag Team Title Number 1 Contenders Tournament semifinal matches on SmackDown. God, that's a fucking mouthful. They will face each other next week on SmackDown to determine the number 1 contenders to the WWE Tag Team titles. We hear from DIY backstage afterward. Gargano says that the Bloodline took something from them that belonged to them in their hometown, and Gargano's hometown of Cleveland anyway, not Ciampa's. But he said that they are going to do whatever it takes to get their titles back. Ciampa talks about their history with the Profits and how they were, he's known them for 10 years now since their start in NXT. Because when they started in NXT, Ciampa and Gargano were there. And they also talked their history in Orlando and how both teams have a very rich history in that city, obviously from the aforementioned NXT. But he does mention this is their first time ever meeting with that team. DIY and the Profits, to my knowledge anyway, at least on TV, have never had a single tag team match against each other. So that'll be an exciting matchup for next week. And the stakes are high with, like I said, a future shot at the WWE Tag Team titles on the line. In the studio, they hype up that match for next week's SmackDown before showing highlights of Nia Jax beating Bayley for the WWE Women's Championship at SummerSlam. They also hype up next week's championship celebration with Nia Jax returning to SmackDown as the WWE Women's Champion. Scott Stanford kind of shows some skepticism of Tiffany Stratton, whether she is going to cash in on that show and why she's, her ulterior motive for being friends with Nia Jax. So Megan's like, no, they're just friends. You would think it'd be the other way around, but Scott Stanford's the one that's actually pretty skeptical of Tiffany Stratton as of right now. They show highlights of Logan Paul losing the United States Championship to LA Knight at SummerSlam. They also replay Andrade losing to Santos Escobar on SmackDown to crown Escobar the new number 1 contender to the United States Championship at a later date. They may have said the match is happening next week or at the pay-per-view. I don't think they did, but he will get the next shot of the championship. We hear from Escobar backstage afterward, and Escobar says that he doesn't buy LA Knight as champion. He is the one that deserves that opportunity to call himself champion. And he will be champion because he has heritage, tradition, culture, familia, he says, all of which Knight has none. Scott Stanford questions if Knight will be outnumbered by Legado and if he might need backup. I don't know if he's going to have any backup, but he should be able to beat Santos pretty decisively, considering he's already beaten him a number of times already, so that really shouldn't be much of a tall task for LA Knight as United States Champion. They replay the ending to the show with Roman Reigns laying out the Bloodline, specifically Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Solo Sikoa evading that attack, getting out of harm's way by ducking out of the ring before Roman Reigns could attack him. Scott Stanford says that Sikoa has got to know that he's in trouble. He is fucked. That loud reaction for Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns came back like a house on fire in that. I mean, he was back at SummerSlam, but that SmackDown segment specifically, he just destroyed Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga with fucking ease. I know Jacob Fatu wasn't out there, and maybe that was by design, but Sikoa's got to know he is fucked. And that was the note they ended on. So decent stuff here from SmackDown LowDown, hearing from DIY, hearing from Santos Escobar, and also hearing from Naomi, Jade Cargill, and Bianca Belair. Thank you guys for checking out my review of the SmackDown LowDown for August 10th, 2024. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, folks. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.